Africa, stand up. Yeah, welcome to the Mwafreeka podcast. And first of all, I have to apologize. I've not been as consistent as I'd like to do this. I'm still trying to, get a few things right. I've been on this fitness journey, and the fitness journey has not been as easy as I expected. I still have all this fat that I need to get rid of. And the funny thing is, I went to the gym that I go to, they also have a nutrition, and this nutrition was going through my body. There's this machine that they use to measure the different things going on in your body, and yes, I was classified as obese, and I felt really bad because if you look at me, you won't think I'm obese, but apparently I have enough fat to fry 15 chickens. I don't know why it's not 16, but 15 to be specific. But yeah, still on the African story. If we are talking about Africa, we are talking about podcasts. One of the guys that has to come up is Mac G. So Mac G was caught up in this interesting or ugly beef with some lady called Minnie and Lamini. I don't know if that's how her name is said, but it's South African. And the debate or the whole beef stemmed from one of the Mac G episodes where they were discussing the girl, and the girl had allegedly been dumped by her new boyfriend, and Mac G was trying to get to the root of that. And according to him, his theory was she might have a smelly one. And when that happened, there was a lot of outrage and people calling even for YouTube to bring him down, and somehow he survived. I didn't expect him to survive through that. I expected him to get some form of suspension. And I remember when I had that, I was there thinking doesn't Mac G know how big he is? Because I always feel like at some point when you reach a certain level, the only way you can go is down. And I think I always quote Denzel Washington, because Denzel says that at your highest moment, that's when the devil shows up, or something close to that. And I feel that's the level that Mac G has reached, where he needs to be checking his every move. But now when you check his history with this girl is accused him of the big R word after he did an interview with someone called Jub Jub. I don't know much about Jub Jub, and since that, I feel like Mac G had this thing where he was like, one day I'm going to get you back. But since this happened when Mac G was not as big as he is right now, I felt like he was risking too much, and it's not worth it. The risk is not worth it. The risk versus the reward. You have to check where am I benefiting from all this? Another story that, of course, that came from this is eventually when people were writing to all these platforms to deplatform him. I guess one of the platforms that decided to deplatform him was DSTV. And with this, there's the whole debate of, is DSTV in South Africa what it used to be back in the days? So DSTV ended up severing ties. Do I understand why DSTV did that? Yes, I understand. This is a local fight, and you feel like if you are to seem like you don't care about women being sexualized or whatever, that would look badly, and I feel that's the reason why DSTV did it. But my advice would be, a lot of podcasters have reached very far, and this is something that we battle as podcasters. And even for me, when I look at the other Swahili podcast that I do, Ikonene, there's always the debate of, should I say this or should I not say this? I feel like American podcasters are allowed to say things that we are not allowed to say. They're allowed to talk about things we are not allowed to talk about, which is a little bit unfair, because I feel like we should all have the same playing field where we are allowed to do this. And in this situation, I feel maybe South Africa is different from Kenya, because when he said that, I was like, would you get away with this in Kenya? I'm not 100% sure you would. So yes, now DSTV have cut ties with Mac G. Do I think that's going to affect him? Not really, because I think one of the things that people love podcasts for is the independent voice that podcasts have. And I feel like even for someone like Mac G, for him to be on such a platform, he had to censor himself on 1, 2, 3 things, and so there's that. But now I'd say the biggest headline in the past few weeks from South Africa has been the issue of Trump versus Ramaphosa. And if you don't know about it, Ramaphosa visited the White House, and Trump decided to ambush him. Ended up playing this video. The video was like around 7 minutes long, and the video was just bullshit propaganda about things happening in South Africa that are not happening. So one of the things, of course, that's being pushed, and this narrative is being pushed by Elon Musk, is the narrative of white people are being persecuted in South Africa, and they are being persecuted strictly because of the color of their skin. Another thing that's happening that Elon Musk is trying to push is the fact that the only reason why Starlink does not have a license to operate in South Africa is because he's not black. And this is sad to see. And it's sad to see because I've always said this about Kenya, and I think about Africa at large, is when you have a certain level of wealth, Africans will never see you for who you are. So when you look at the Elon Musk situation, and you look at the fact that this guy is spreading all this fake news about South Africa, things that are not happening. I'm not even on the ground in South Africa, and I know these things are not happening. I've said it on my other platform that I'm planning to travel to South Africa this year around October. I'm attending a friend of my wife's wedding. It's a wedding I'm not supposed to attend, but I'm just treating it as an opportunity to see South Africa. So I'm going to go there. And one of the things that I know is crime really bad in South Africa? Yes, crime is bad. Would I say that there's specific crime targeted to white people? No, I don't think so. But when you have such a person with a powerful platform like Twitter, just sending this narrative of racism in South Africa and white people being persecuted, what ends up happening is the racists end up springing up. And right now, like, one of the things that I've been trying to avoid is opening posts that I see that are about race, because what that ends up doing is I end up getting all these posts where it's just people dehumanizing us. I've even learned about a new word that I never knew about, black fatigue, where black fatigue is apparently a condition that other races go through where they just can't stand black people. And I remember, like, one of the clips being used to push that was a Chinese girl, I think somewhere in China, who meets a black lady and just starts calling her the N-word. And in the comments, you just see people saying that, why is it that these people are the most hated? And you're there thinking, why are we the most hated? Like, we've never done anything. We've never gone and tried to conquer anyone and then committed, like, crimes against humanity. We've never done that. If you have to look at us historically, we've always been on the receiving end. And I feel like then when you talk about that, a lot of black people will look at you and tell you, oh, you have a victim mentality. No, it's not a victim mentality. It's just the history of it. We've never been the sort of people to go to places and try to conquer people. We've also been the sort of people who, when we go to other countries, we assimilate very easily. We don't try to change people and how they reason. So I've been seeing, like, all these clips that have been happening about immigration in Europe, and you look at immigration in Europe and how it's become like they have an immigration problem where during the war in Syria, they let in a lot of refugees, and now the refugees have become comfortable, and you have a situation whereby people are like, in blah 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 years, we are going to change the laws in this country and we are going to have Sharia law. And of course, this brings a certain level of anxiety amongst the citizens. And even as a foreigner, I'm out there and I'm like, yes, this makes sense why they should be nervous about that. And one thing I can say about like the Kenyans, because I know about Kenyans who've immigrated to different countries, one thing that I know is they leave their culture at the door. And a lot of people will say that that's wrong, but I always feel like if you're going to leave your country and go to another country, you have to leave your culture at the door. And there's a certain level of hypocrisy that's put on the West. And I'm going to say that it's put on the West. And this is interesting. And this is why I normally say that two things can be right. Elon Musk can be a racist. And the next thing that can be right is the West needs to protect Western values. Both can be true at the same time. So you'll find people will go to the West and want to carry all their cultures with them. And some of the cultures will make the natives there uncomfortable. While if you move into For example, the Middle East, you're not allowed to take your culture there. Understand? You can't go to Saudi Arabia and walk around in a miniskirt. That's not going to happen. So with the same sort of reasoning, the fact that if you go to Saudi and you're wearing a miniskirt, it's offensive to the locals, the same should also apply. When you move to the West, you should understand what makes the people in the West feel uncomfortable. And I think that this is one of the reasons why the liberals have lost a lot of people, because the liberals don't see why someone should be asked, you know what, don't make people uncomfortable. Don't come to someone's country and tell them in a few years we are going to surpass your population and we are going to change all the rules that made your country as peaceful and as, in quotes, beautiful as it is. Because you have to look at, if you look at countries like Norway, we look at countries like Denmark, yes, and you hear about the tax regime, you hear like they have one of the worst tax regimes, but then you'll hear the next thing where Medicare is free, like all social services are free. You have situations whereby public transportation is free. So you see where the taxes are going. And then you look at people who've come from maybe war-zone countries who go to these countries and then want to tell them, like, you know what, your way of living, where there's justice and there's freedom, is wrong, and you need to change that. So you're caught up in all that. But now if you're to come back to South Africa, so now Ramaphosa visits the White House and he's bombarded with all these fake videos, and the fake videos are about how white people are being persecuted in South Africa. And he has to sit there and try and justify fake news, where a president of the most powerful country in the world is using fake propaganda to talk about things that are not happening. And you, as a president from an African country, you have to take this, you have to be respectful, you have to be like, you know what, okay, maybe I have to listen to you and I have to listen to the nonsense. And eventually, like, I remember watching Malema, and Malema was talking of, I was watching a video where Malema had talked about this even before the president traveled, and he was like, please don't go to America, because the only thing that's going to happen is they're going to disrespect you. And that's what happened. They went there, disrespected him, and made him sit down, listen to propaganda. He had carried some Afrikaners, like those are white people from South Africa. They are there, like, that's not the situation. There's crime in South Africa, and this crime does not discriminate on race. And since blacks are the majority, they are the ones who really bear the brunt of this crime. And yeah, but Trump was having none of that. And I think one of the saddest things that I saw with that is still, when you looked at the audience, you could see Elon Musk was there, and Elon was still pushing the narrative that the only reason why Starlink is not in South Africa is the fact that he's black. I know he's not black, and it's a really sad state of affairs. As I keep saying, right now, if you make a mistake of watching one video about race on Twitter, that's all you're going to be bombarded with. It's just race, race, race. And it's about how whites are being persecuted. And it's about how black people are villains. And you'll find, and I keep saying, historically, if you have to check, I'm yet to see where black people went out of their way to persecute other people and enslave them or dehumanize them. It's never been one of the things that we do. It's always been both our strength and our weakness. Our weakness being the fact that, of course, we are easy to manipulate. All the religions in Africa, either white or Arabic, you'll never find a white person called Onyango, but you'll find a black person called Macarius. I have a Greek name. Where the hell do I have a Greek name? Understand? I don't think there's any white person with two African names. So when you look at such little things, we are the sort of people who've lost our culture and lost our dignity. But I also look at it as a strength, because we are also the same sort of people who, when we go to a society, we don't try to change that society and be like, you know what, our culture is superior, so you need to do this and do that. So I'll keep checking the situation in the West and seeing how all this unfolds, and also how racism keeps spreading on Elon Musk's platform. But apart from that, another thing, of course, I've been following up on is the whole Diddy situation. And the Diddy situation is, I don't know how to look at it. When I look at Diddy, and then apart from Diddy, I look at Shannon Sharp, And even today, I think I was looking at a photo of Jamie Foxx, and Jamie Foxx is dating this 22-year-old white girl. And you look at all these situations, and this goes back to the Shannon Sharp, Cat Williams interview, where Cat Williams joked with Shannon on why he should stay away from white girls. And when I look at now the situation of Jamie Foxx, I keep asking myself how long before he regrets this. Because if you have to look at someone like Jonathan Majors, one of the best actors ever, his career was on the rise. Made a mistake of dating this white girl. This white girl accused him of emotional abuse. And then there was this situation whereby he was running away, literally running away from the white girl. This footage was used as evidence of how much he was trying to avoid like any confrontation. He was still found guilty. And after being found guilty, he was in quotes cancelled by Hollywood, and right now is when he's trying to recover from the whole thing. And then as this happens, then you hear now it's Jamie Foxx caught up in the same sort of situation. And you have to wonder, like, what is this obsession of some black people feeling like dating white women validates your success? Because I don't understand. The pattern that we've seen so far has been trouble. If you look at America, for example, with its sort of history and the history of America is like the whole history is based on racism, and it's based on this race and this race can never be equal, this race and this. So with that in mind, every time that a black man is dating a white girl, you have to understand that there's a huge chunk of the society that looks at that and gets angry, especially if it's white fit girls, where it's not a situation where it's maybe an obese girl who is shunned upon by the white community and now ends up with some black guy who's trying to get maybe a visa or a free meal ticket. When you have that situation. So yes, when I was looking at the whole Jamie Foxx, I think Jamie Foxx is 55, if I'm not wrong, and is now dating a 22-year-old girl. That reminds me the situation of Shannon Sharp, I think, is turning 57, and the girl that he was dating right now is 21. That means by the time he was meeting the girl, he was 54 and she was 18. That's bordering on pedo. And you take all these risks that end up, like, you can lose all your wealth. Like right now, if I look at the situation where I don't know how the Shannon Sharp situation is going to end, but he might end up losing a very big chunk of his wealth. For what reason? For no reason. But now, if you have to go back to Diddy, the situation with Diddy has been tricky to follow because all the details that have been coming out, of course, the freak-offs. And when you think of the freak-offs, I think one of the things that Cassie talked about was just entering the room, and the room would be pungent. The smell of baby oil and bottoms. And we are not talking about red bottoms, Louis Vuittons. We're talking about real bottoms. And she was talking of this pungent smell and talking of how she had to deal with like UTIs and infections. And you look at her situation, and what was surprising is the sort of people that are in court listening to this evidence. So you have a situation whereby Cassie's husband has to sit through this and hear all these horrible experiences and hear about all these sexual adventures that his wife had. So you have that side. And then on the other side, you have Diddy's kids who have to hear all the evil stuff that their dad was doing. I think at some point I had Diddy's sister used to, like, even until now, if I'm not wrong, she always attends the proceedings. And I'm there like, at what point do you just ask your family, just stay away and let the verdict be? I would not want my kids, especially, to hear about all this sexual deviancy. How's the case going? It depends with who you're talking to. Some people are saying that this is an open and shut case and Diddy is going to go to jail for a very long time. But other people are saying that the charges, whatever he's been charged with, has not been proven. Racketeering, running a criminal enterprise. There was the argument of an enterprise has to make profits And the fact that he was not charging for these things, it's people just show up, it's his friends, they end up in quotes enjoying. So that has not also been proven. So it's been an interesting one to see, but also it's made me worried for African artists, made me worried for Diamond, made me worried for Burna Boy, because I don't know what they had to do to get this guy's attention and get his audience. Because when you think about Diddy, like one of the things that comes up is the infamous video where he was asking 50 Cent, he wanted to take 50 Cent shopping. So he had that one. And of course, there's the other one on Drink Champs, where he tried to tell Fabulous, we've never partied before. Let's party, baby. So you have that. And then I think lately there was the video that came out of Terrence Howard. And Terrence Howard was talking of giving a story of having met Diddy. And Diddy asked him to coach him on how to act. And he went to the first day in the studio and there was no acting happening. It was just Diddy looking at him. Went the second day, Diddy was just looking at him. I think by the third time when he went is when one of the Diddy's people told him, no, I think his assistant told him that this guy does not want to learn how to act. He just wants to screw you. So yeah, Diddy is like one of those sexual deviants, and you have to wonder, like, what did African artists, because don't forget, you're an African artist, you've gone to this foreign country, you're in the middle of nowhere, you have this powerful guy in quotes, he's promised you the world. So what happens? Does he end up getting into the black hole? It's trying to talk some universe talk there. Yes, the black hole where light never disappears. You know, gravity is so strong that light never disappears. So yeah, now we're talking about the universe. Yes, don't take your... I didn't say where the sun don't shine. I said where, yeah. So the Diddy case has been one of the things that I've been following up on. And when I also think about him, that this guy, I think a few years back, they were saying he was a billionaire. He was worth $1 billion. Right now, I think as the court proceedings go, I think the last thing that I heard was his net worth was around 400 million. And 400 million, to have risked all that because of sex, shows you how much value people have put on sex and pleasure. And to risk your kids' futures, because when you hear the Diddy stories, they just get worse. So there's a story of he used to love seeing Cassie sleeping with other men. Apart from that, there's a story where he'd play with other men's men. Okay. I don't know. I actually don't know what to say, because I always feel like with power, there has to be a certain level of power and influence where you do powerful things. That's not a powerful thing. Being a cuckold is not a powerful thing. And that's the worst thing about this, because the other stories that have come out from the proceedings was the fact that he was literally a cuckold. And I don't know why I've not gotten my... for people who don't know the meaning of a cuckold, it's like one of the things that I would not think a dollar billionaire would be, but it is what it is. So, cuckold meaning, or cuckolding meaning, okay. A cuckold, a person who... A cuckold is a male who unwittingly invests parental effort in juveniles who are not genitally... Okay. No, that's not the meaning I was looking for. Okay. Yes. What is a cuckold relationship and ways to exploit? Yes. A man whose spouse has committed adultery, often referred to as an object of... Okay, I don't know. I think I've gotten lost with the meaning that I was looking for. But I think there's this on marriage.com. Yes, there is... imagine a couple where the husband encourages his wife to explore relationships with other men while he delivers emotional satisfaction from her pleasure. This dynamic, often called a cuckold relationship, thrives on trust, communication, and consent. While highly unconventional relationships highlight their diversity in how people find intimacy and fulfillment, at its core, the cuckold relationship emphasizes emotional resilience. Okay, I think this is the childish version of describing this. But in the Diddy situation, the cuckold situation would be where he'd let men finish off, and after they finished off, he'd either even leak whatever they'd. So it's just nasty. It's nasty. Yes, I don't know what to say, and I'm really hoping that this video. I saw the Breakfast Club discussing this, so I'm hoping I'm allowed to discuss this, because I think one of the things I've also come to discover as a African podcaster is there are things that other podcasts are allowed to discuss, but we are not allowed, and I feel like that's wrong. We should be given the opportunity to talk about this stuff. I've tried to censor myself as much as possible on this topic, but yes, it is what it is. So yes, this Diddy situation, I don't know what to think about it, and especially when you think about artists like Diamond and the African giant, Burna Boy, and because this also reminds me of the fact that Burna Boy has been receiving some backlash from the Nigerian audience, because there are people who feel like he started looking down upon them. You know, these are the people who made him who he is. Because don't forget, one of the things that happens with any artist is you have to be accepted home before you're accepted elsewhere. Once in a while, you can be accepted outside before home, but that's rare. So with Burna Boy, for example, the Nigerians had to embrace Nigerian music, and they had to embrace Afro music. And when they embraced Afrobeat started spreading all over Africa. And then because of the internet spread, this sort of music ended up going everywhere because of dance challenges and what. So now, right now, Burna Boy is one of the biggest artists in the world. But since he became that, there have been videos of him kicking his artists, kicking his fans when they're on stage, when they ambush him on stage. And with that, the element of does he still respect his fans has come up. So there's someone who'd written an article, and he was saying that it's Burna Boy who's been disrespecting his fans. Because I think there's a situation that had happened where Burna Boy said that a lot of people who talk shit about him do not even buy tickets, and people are asking him, like, your tickets have become so expensive that not every person can afford them. Does that mean that there are less fans? And I don't know. I don't know if this is just him being a star, or this is just him being Burna Boy. I don't know what has happened. So if you go and look at articles about this, you'll find right now things like Burna Boy is arrogant and he needs to respect his Nigerian fan base. So Burna Boy right now has become, yes, an international superstar. So does he feel like he needs to respect his fan base? I don't know. I think it's like one of the things I talked about before, where we as Africans are always ready to forget Africa and forget everything about it. So I guess maybe that's the reason why Burna Boy feels like he does not need his South African fans. So yeah, this is one of the things that I'm checking out. And yeah, before I go, let me also talk about something. If you're out there, there's something very interesting happening in East Africa. And what's happening in East Africa? Kenyans, one Kenyan activist and a Ugandan activist were arrested in Tanzania. They were arrested. They'd gone there to check the case of the opposition leader who's he's been charged with treason, and he's been charged with treason because he talked about election reforms. So when they were there, one of the things that ended up happening is the two activists were abducted, I think, for 4 nights. They were tortured and such stuff happened. But now the Tanzania president came out and ended up defending the actions of Tanzania police. And so what Kenyans have done is they've been they've been like doing all these videos like mocking Tanzanians, and apart from that, there's been a situation whereby for numbers of members of parliament, and even think the president was shared online, and Kenyans just ended up throwing messages there, and now the debate has come up of Kenya versus Tanzania. So if you don't know a few things about these two countries, of course they are neighboring countries. They have very different education systems, where in Tanzania the main language of communication is Swahili and it's taught in schools. In Kenya, it's English taught in schools. So there's always the debate of Kenyans can speak Swahili and English, but Tanzanians can mostly speak Swahili and can't speak in English. So the element of language has come up, the element of education, where the Tanzanians are like, there's nothing to learn from Kenya. Kenya on the other side is like, you know what, we have freedom of expression, we can talk about stuff that we are not allowed to talk about. So it's been a very interesting debate to see, and it's going to be interesting to see how far this goes. And but personally, as a Kenyan, I've just vowed at least to stay away from Tanzania at the moment, because Tanzania has had this one party rule. I think they got their freedom in 1960, if I'm not wrong. Let me check. Was it 60 or 61? Tanzania freedom, I think it was 61, yes, because then Uganda was 62 and Kenya was 63. So Tanzania got independence in which year? When did Tanzania get independence? Yes, December 9th, 1961. Yes, so Tanzania was 1961, Uganda 1962, Kenya 1963. And so for 64 years, Tanzania have had only one party in power. And of course, Uganda has had a bunch of coups. So with that in mind, people are trying to challenge that. Now you have the Chadema party that's trying to challenge all that. And their leader, Tundu Lissu, someone who survived 16 shots, he's now in jail, and he's like being charged with treason. But the only story that I can give Tanzania to give them hope is, I was watching a certain movie, a documentary, it's called 58 Years Later, and it was about Botswana. So Botswana had a one-party rule for 58 years, but then last year they were able to vote out that party, and that party was voted out because of the youth. The youth ended up registering in numbers, and there was no way to rig the elections. So hey, Tanzanians, maybe it's time. I know their leaders have said there's nothing they can learn from Kenya, but I feel like maybe it's time for Tanzanians to just register as voters, the youth to know that politics is very important. Kenyans are learning the hard way that politics is important, because in Kenya right now you have a government that's trying to censor us, and it's trying to take back some of the freedoms that we have, and we're trying to fight back to keep those freedoms. So yeah, maybe that's something that Tanzania can learn from us. So that has been interesting to see the whole debate, Kenya versus Tanzania, the back and forth, how Kenyans are going about it. Kenyans had hacked the Twitter account of the Tanzania police. Then there was a rumor of Kenyans also messing with the YouTube channel for Chama cha Mapinduzi. I don't know how true that was. And yes, we have this situation. You have Tanzanians who are praising Kenyans for saying things that they themselves are not allowed to talk about, but we are talking about. So yeah, it's been good. And also, when maybe it comes to artistry, this was also the week that a Kenyan artist by the name of Bien ended up going on Breakfast Club, and this was the first East African artist to do this. And a few people might look at it as a small feat, but one of the reasons why I think this is a big deal is we've always said that the biggest artist in East Africa is Diamond. But Diamond at some point was really huge, but he can't perform live music. He's the sort of guy who just gets on stage, uses playback beats and just jumps on stage, just does some dancing and goes home. And with that, his stock internationally just started falling and falling. And I think at the same time, you have someone like Bien, who's known for very electric performances, and his stock is going up and up. So yeah, that has been one of the interesting things to see. I'd want to see if Diamond can end up on the Breakfast Club or even harmonize. But now another thing that happens with Kenyan artists is, I think with us, our accent is not a very easy accent to maybe, if you don't understand it, it's not easy to duplicate. It's not as pronounced as maybe the Ugandan or the South African or the Nigerian accent. But one thing about it is we've embraced our accent, and we know we pronounce things in our Kenyan way. So if you watch the interview, the Breakfast Club interview, you'll find it was Charlemagne making a joke on how we as Kenyans say the word money. I think we just say it as money, but I don't know how they hear it. And he joked about that. And the reason why I'm talking about an accent is when you look at Tanzanian artists like Diamond or Harmonize, they have this habit where every time they get a chance to speak in English, they try this fake American accent that makes no sense. So I don't know why they do it. I remember watching a video of Harmonize, and Harmonize was talking about supporting a certain girl, Tanzanian artist called Abigail Chams, and he was doing this really awful American accent, and it's just a Tanzanian thing. I don't know why they do it, but they do it. Yeah, so I guess that has been like just my rant about things that I've been following up on here in Kenya, and of course all over Africa. And also, yes, I think maybe the last thing is Kenya was supposed to host CHAN. That's some football competition. It's been said that Kenyan stadiums are not good enough. And yes, that's what we are stuck with as Kenyans. I think as Kenyans, the only sports that we thrive in are individual sports because they mostly don't require a stadium. They just require individual effort. But when it comes to anything that requires government support, we really fail miserably in. But yeah, it is what it is. This has been the Mwafreeka podcast. I'm out. Peace.